Hi Thomas,
Hi,
how are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
Good to hear. So, what I want to start with is your European tour just kicked off yesterday,
Yes.
and I heard there was a snowstorm in Oslo, and it was not the easiest of getting there. So what does that to you when you start off a tour like that?
Well, I think it just stresses you out a little bit because you work so hard in advance to make sure everything is set up right and everything is planned so that you have a good long day of preparation at the venue. You can do a long sound check. You can sort of just you know
Hmm.
get into the mood a little bit, and then you end up spending 10 hours at airports and rushing into Berlin, holding the doors so the guests can't come in because you have to set up your gear and try to have like a 5-minute sound check. So it just stresses you out.
But I believe the show went well.
It went very well, yes, indeed. We just had a pep talk before the show and said, any any frustration or tiredness or anger, whatever you might feel, just take it out, in a musical way. And so that's what we tried to do. But it was really nice yesterday. I mean, it could have gone both ways. It could have been one of those nights that, went to hell, or it could be one of those that you turned and no, it was great. We just ended up, I think, being friendly with the audience and sort of connecting, which is nice. I mean,
But those kind of, because you can't plan that kind of stuff. So
no.
those kind of nights, are they special in a way that because you don't know what's going to happen? Because
Yeah,
you
I mean,
can't.
when they turn out good, it's great. When they turn out not so good, not so good. I mean, yeah, it's like I said, when you put so much time and effort into preparing for something, then not being able to do what you're supposed to do is kind of frustrating.
Sure.
But yeah, no, yesterday worked out great.
Okay.
The audience were very nice and understanding, and also very, very loving. So it was cool.
And well, you say preparing when you prepare for a tour, and then part of it obviously is making an album, The Great Plains.
Yes.
So if we go back to What's Left Is Forever and kind of that touring cycle after that ended, where was your mind after that touring cycle for the previous one that ended?
Well, that touring cycle really never ended.
Okay.
Because the way I've been trying to do things these past albums is that I do an album and then I tour it with the band first, and then I start touring it solo afterwards.
Okay.
And I tour it longer solo than I do with the band because it's just logistically also it's something that you can do. I mean, I can always find a cheap ticket and go to Spain and play a show in front of 50 people if I want to, but you can't do that with 8 people in a band. It's not going to work out unless you've got some millionaire backing you, which we don't. Hint. No, so yeah, we've been touring first with the band, and then I've done maybe twice as much solo.
Okay.
Touring never really ended. So I was still touring solo while I was writing for this record, and then I just took a little break in writing, and then we recorded it in September and August last year. And had it done by Christmas, and then released it 24th of February, I think it was, and then immediately started touring again.
But well, very busy. But what I find interesting about this is that your albums have a lot of musical depth to it. It's not just you and a guitar. So when you start touring solo, just by yourself. Is that difficult then to translate what you want to the stage?
Yeah, I mean it's a challenge, but I have the reason why I like doing it so much now is that now as opposed to 10 years ago I have 7 albums that I can pick songs from to make a good solo set, which I couldn't do before. When I had like 2 albums, I was basically having to play almost every song. Mm-hmm. And not every song suits the sort of solo kind of thing. So now what I'm able to do is, pick 2 or 3 from the records that are the ones that, translate well to just the guitar, and where I think I might even do a version that's almost better because I can play it, maybe the way that it was made or the way that it was conceived, which makes it very like immediate and. So I think that just makes it so much easier. So it's not difficult, but it's sometimes challenging finding out which songs are the ones that fit you the best. Because sometimes that surprises you. I might think that this song is perfect for the guitar, and I play it, and it's it's boring, and then I have to try and find another one.
But is that the basis then, that a good song you have to be able to play just by yourself?
No, not really. I don't think so. I'm not a purist like that at all. I mean, I wouldn't. I mean, a good song is so many different things. I mean, I'm not one to say that any good song should be able to be played on acoustic guitar and vocals, because that's just too narrow. So many songs are sort of part production, part arrangement, part writing, part mixing. It's all like a hybrid kind of thing where as opposed to like classic songwriting, which obviously if you're in doing that, you should be able to play it and sing it. But I mean, if you're doing an avant-garde production of something, you put a lot of thought and work into those kind of details, then I think that becomes part of the song too. So no, to me that's not the case anyways. I mean, I think someone like Kanye West has a lot of good songs, and not necessarily ones that you want to go out and play on an acoustic guitar and sing, but still good songs.
Where do you start then? Because you mentioned the tour never stopped, and then you kept writing. So does kind of the tour and what you're doing influence what you write?
It probably does. I mean, not at the time, because I never write while I'm on tour. Okay. Because I can't do it. I need some more designated space or time to do it. But obviously, with all the things that you experience when you're on tour, when you're traveling, all the people that you meet, the shows you do, and the new stuff you see and hear, all of that obviously it translates into new music sometimes, but mostly after I've come back home and had some time to digest it and just look at it from a distance. And
when I listened to the album, it seemed very, very introspective. So is this reflective of kind of the time you're in, or like you say, you take some time away from touring, or a couple of weeks just to write songs, and then is that when you start to think about what songs should be about? And
yeah, I think so. I mean, I usually don't start writing with anything in mind. Okay. I just start to write, and then I write, maybe if you write 30 songs and you stop and you can sort of look at all the songs and see if there's a pattern there, if there's anything that I'm subconsciously thinking about or writing about more than other things, and so that might become the basis for whatever theme you have on the record. So
what did you notice then about this album when you started writing songs and kind of reflecting on them? What did you notice?
I noticed that I was looking a lot back.
Okay.
you know, back in time, sort of like, you know, it's like an early midlife crisis thing almost, where I think that probably that's what a midlife crisis is, that you know, your life is sort of like in two equal parts, you know, because you can see back as far as you can maybe conceivably see, you know, ahead. So I don't know. I think I was just, you know, looking back and thinking back to childhood and upbringing and the way that our family worked and what kind of things made me who I am, what kind of things were important, events and things, and also if I could ever remember thinking that this, you know, what I'm experiencing now is part of my history. This is gonna say something about me. It's gonna define me in some sense. You know, things, stuff like that.
It might be difficult to answer, but do you know why you started looking back more?
Ah, it's just like I said. I think it's just because I can look back, and I can look back 25 years and feel like it was yesterday. And it freaks the shit out of you when because if I think the next 25 years are gonna be as quick, then you know that's. I think, you know, you just take stock of what are you doing with your life, and you know, if there's anything to be changed, you got to do it now, you know.
Was there anything you wanted to change?
I'm sure there are things that really need to be changed. I'm not sure all of those things fit the format of an interview like this.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
But yeah, I find myself constantly making new kinds of mistakes. I try to learn from what I've done, obviously, but there's a ton of mistakes to be made out.
But so when you listen back to the music that you've made on this record, is it a nostalgic thing for you then?
Yeah, it sort of is. I feel like that was one vibe that I was trying to create in a way. Some sort of nostalgia, almost. But I was also trying to do something else, like musically and production-wise.
Right.
Because I was trying to, you know, eliminate the role of the, you know, whoever used to play pedal steel, or whoever used to play the strings, or the pianos, all of these things we just wanted to try to do on the synthesizers instead, you know, like old analog synths that sort of, even though they're synthesizers, they sound so warm, and so my thought was just that I was going to start all the songs with a clean, almost like heartbeat bass drum on the floor on every four. I was going to do all the guitars, and then I was going to do all the arrangements that I would otherwise do in the strings and the pianos and everything. I would do them on the synths, and see how that sounded. So that's what we did. We started, the first song we did, the first day on the record, was a song called Born and Raised, which is sort of like, almost like the template for what we were thinking, you know. Big layered vocals, not like one-on-one vocals, we were trying to make like a whole sonic sort of package with the vocals, and then the guitars, the four on the floor there, and almost like an 808 kind of drum, and then just all the details in the synths.
Yeah, you mentioned this sonic package that you tried to create, and am I right in saying that you kind of approached the music more in a atmospheric or cinematic sense?
I don't know. I've though cinematic. That's a wide wide kind of spectrum. But I mean, it would make sense because I've been doing movie music. I've been doing film for music. No, sorry, music.
Sure.
I blame it on the lack of sleep. No, but it would make sense. The last, I would say the last 7-8 years, I've been doing a lot of music for film. So with a lot of scoring and And I mean, it would only be natural for that sort of thing to creep into the music as
Right.
well, to the songs that I make.